Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
We are doctors
and weight management and metabolic health experts.
and this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast. Hello, lovely listener, and welcome to this fabulous podcast. Dr. Mary here, and I am joined by my gorgeous colleague, Dr. Lucy. How are you, fabulous?
I am fabulous and collegy and collegial.
Collegiate?
Yeah, I'm all of those. Thank you so much for asking.
I love that we don't have to be perfect, because that's that's an impossible ideal, apparently, even when you're doing simple things like introducing people.
Yeah, like speaking.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem for a podcaster, but look, I'll rally, and I think things will improve.
Yeah, I think you're doing it. And again, progress, not perfection.
Totally.
Yes. Good. Excellent. Well, I'm wondering if part of the tongue-tied is because you don't drink caffeine.
I don't drink caffeine. Caffeine doesn't like me. It doesn't matter how much I like caffeine. It doesn't like me. In June last year, I got a blood patch to treat a CSF leak. And ever since then, I've been vulnerable to getting high pressure in my brain. Like I'm good, I'm fine. But if I drink coffee, I get blurred vision, a headache, I feel tired, and I need to lie down, which is usually the exact opposite of the effect people want from coffee. So I can't blame not having a coffee on my inability to say colleague versus college today. But how about you, Lucy? How are you this morning?
Yes, I am awesome. Feeling great, excellent, and speaking not in tongues. So I'm excited about today's topic because, we dabble in supplement. Well, we've dabbled in supplement series. We've done lots of podcasts on popular supplements and tried to present, pros and cons. And overall, most supplements haven't been given our tick of approval. Most of them seem to promise the world and deliver very little. Most of them seem to be expensive and with potential risk. But today we seem to have a supplement that is probably a bit cheaper and seems to have a low risk. And in fact, I've started taking it. So I thought we'd dive into the world of creatine.
Yeah, and I think one of the nice things about creatine is that it's been around a long time. So we've got fairly long-term data about its safety, risks, and benefits. So I think it's a good one to chat about.
So I thought first of all, just so people know, their words, some people get mixed up with the word creatine and creatinine because they kind of sound a little bit the same. And in fact, there's only 2 letters difference. But creatine is a supplement, and then creatinine is something that we will measure in your blood as part of your renal function. That's the way I like to just sort of use it.
That's right. So, and we will talk about renal function and creatine in a bit because there's a bit of myths and misunderstandings about that. But yes, we are talking about creatine, not creatinine.
Indeed. So let's start with, what is creatine?
Creatine, it's a compound that we make. Our body makes it, and we synthesize it in our liver, in our kidneys, in our pancreas. We sort of get 3 different amino acid building blocks, and we mush them together, and we make creatine. And creatine is mostly stored in our muscle, our skeletal muscle, as creatine phosphate, and it acts as a wonderful quick energy reserve for our muscles. That's where most of our creatine that we make goes. We also have a little bit in our brain, heart, and other tissues. Creatine is particularly helpful for our brain health as well. But mostly when we talk about the benefits of creatine, we are talking about the benefits to our muscles, which our muscles are extremely important for our function and for our metabolic health.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as always, we always say, well, where do you get creatine from? So we can certainly get creatine from our food. And as you mentioned, it's stored in muscle. So in animal muscle, so, steak and chicken, etc. And actually I wasn't sure about cheese. I had to go look cheese up, but it is actually in milk, in dairy. So, assuming your cheese is made from dairy, then it will have creatine in it. And I have to make that assumption because, these days cheese is made from things like cashews But yeah, so I think that we need to recognize that you don't have to get it from a supplement. You certainly can get plenty in your diet. But there does seem to be evidence for supplementing, or as, topping it up, which is really what a supplement should be. It should be a top-up, shouldn't it? Not a replacement.
Complement a whole food diet, not replace a whole food diet. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we definitely get creatine from our food if we're eating those delicious animal foods. There is evidence showing that creatine can be a bit lower in people who are on a vegetarian and plant-based diet. So that's something to be aware of. And it's really important. I mean, we do need it. Creatine has a really important job in helping regenerate the ATP, which is how our cells make energy. They're like the batteries that power every single cellular function. And it's really important. It's our primary energy carrier. And creatine has this really important role in energy production and energy storage for our muscles. And it's really good for our muscle health. So having a good amount of creatine on board is really helpful. And there's evidence that having extra, topping up with supplementation can be useful for muscle health. And so we could talk about some of the potential benefits. We talked about, how it's made, how we make it ourselves, but we also get it from our food or from supplementation, where we store it, where we use it, the potential benefits of creatine.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, the thing I guess that sparked my interest is that there's some really good evidence that creatine may be helpful for muscular dystrophy. So, hello, anyone with muscular dystrophy, put your hand up. Oh, actually, people with muscular dystrophy can't put their hands up. So luckily I can make a joke about that, having muscular dystrophy.
Yeah, it's totally okay.
Yeah. But, so for me, I went, okay, because the thing for me is that I actually can't do strength training. So it's like, well, we bang on a lot about strength training, and for people that can't do it because you have a muscle disorder, it's a little bit like, whoa. So I thought, well, this is going to be helpful. But the benefits of supplementing with creatine, this is for people without muscular dystrophy. Again, it's like everything that we say. You can't just take an antioxidant and that absolves you of all the oxidation. You can't just take creatine and suddenly you're going to build muscle. You actually still have to build the muscle. You still have to move the muscle. You still have to lift the weights. But by supplementing with creatine, it enhances that. And it potentially improves recovery, which I think is also really helpful.
Yes. And interestingly, the relative improvement with creatine seems to be better in women, looking at the studies, compared to men. And this might be because women have a lower baseline creatine levels. And it might be that we're eating less meat. I'm not sure exactly why women tend to have lower creatine levels, but it benefits us a bit more than it benefits the men, which is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, again, it's 3 little amino acids, arginine, glycine, methionine. They're made in a factory. So there is no organic creatine. It is a processed product. Like, we're not going to pretend that you can buy, organic grass-fed creatine. You can't. It's made by a chemical reaction that sort of mushes these 3 amino acids together. So the things, I guess, that we would be looking for then in a supplement is making sure that that's all that's in it. Like, you don't need to then get a supplement that's got a whole heap of other stuff in it that doesn't necessarily add to it. In fact, I was just looking that one of the benefits is around brain and cognition. And some people will use it as a little energy boost in the afternoon for their brain. So if you've got that sort of brain fatigue in the afternoon, some people will take their creatine then. And, anecdotally, there's reports that it's helpful. But interestingly, there are supplements out there that pair it with caffeine. But there's studies showing that when you combine creatine with caffeine, it reduces the effect of the creatine.
Yeah. And caffeine's not my friend anyway, as we were previously discussing. So yes, I think, yep, you want to be careful what you mix it with, and also check that it doesn't have sugar or nasty sweeteners or, extra B vitamins that you may not necessarily need, because we have mentioned this before, that B vitamin toxicity is a real thing and possibly under-recognised and relatively quite common. So you've got to be cautious and careful with your supplementation. We like to give it the same respect that we would medications.
Yeah, absolutely. And marketing is all around it'll be marketed as like an energy something or other, and it'll have, creatine, and it'll have caffeine. It might have some sort of guarana, something or other in it as well. And B, lots of Bs, super boost and all of these weird things. And yeah, they're not necessarily harmless. So yeah, I agree with you, Mez.
Just be cautious, yeah. And you don't want to be having big spikes of caffeine in the afternoon, because that will affect your sleep as well. But there is evidence that creatine can be helpful for that cognitive function, that it can improve short-term memory, attention, mental clarity, and animal studies in particular looking that it may be helpful for neurodegenerative disorders. I think it's very much a watch this space. Can't make any broad sweeping statements about that yet, but it is interesting to look at. And I think we should keep looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that's helpful about creatine is it's freely available. You can buy it anywhere. You can buy it in the supermarket. Given it's made in a factory, we don't need to worry necessarily about the quality, because they're all the same. So you're just looking for straight out, plain old-fashioned creatine with no bells and whistles. And you don't even need very much. Like, it's 3 grams a day. It comes in a tiny, tiny little scooper that you just sprinkle out. So, there's not a lot of evidence for more than that in standard people. Again, sometimes studies are done on athletes and weightlifters and people training for the Olympics and all of that. But, we're just talking your bog standard person. 3 grams a day is enough, combined with some really good strength training, resistance training, muscles, and essentially lifting weights.
Yes. Yep. Stress those muscles out, and the creatine will help you get stronger. You're going to get stronger anyway if you stress those muscles out, but the creatine might be helpful if it's something you wanted to explore. It also has a flow-on effect to your bones. As you stress out your muscles and they get stronger, you're also stressing out your bones and they are getting stronger. I think we should talk about some of the potential risks of creatine. I'm pleased to say that it doesn't seem that there are many. Some people report gastrointestinal discomfort. Like, some people can get some minor side effects like bloating or stomach pain. And if that's happening to someone, they may need to potentially could split the dose, like just have smaller amounts twice a day rather than a bigger amount all at once. But like you said, it's not a big dose anyway, or it might just not be for everyone. I mean, not everybody can tolerate everything. Interestingly, when I first read this, I was like, what? I did a little double take, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Weight gain, but not fat gain, is one thing that people experience. So weight gain is typically due to the increased muscle mass, which is fabulous. And it also actually increases water retention within the muscles, the muscle cells themselves, which is not necessarily a bad thing either. The muscle cells get bigger with water as well. So, but it's not fat accumulation. So if people start creatine and they gain weight on the scales, that doesn't mean they're gaining extra fat. So it's just something to be mindful of. And certainly there's a lot of thoughts that it could be dangerous to kidney health. However, long-term studies showing that it's not dangerous to kidneys, if taken at the recommended doses. So I think, follow the instructions on the bottle, I think, is really important. And taken at recommended doses, there has been no signs of harm to the kidneys or overall function.
Yeah, like it's a teaspoon. It's not a truckload of stuff. More is not better. 3 grams a day, it's a little, people go, how will I take it? You can sprinkle it on your yogurt. It's reasonably tasteless. You can put it in a drink if you want to. You can just add it into cauliflower mash. You can do whatever you want. It's simple. So I'm quite excited about the fact that, because every now and then I feel like, oh my God, we're such naysayers. No supplements do we like, rah, rah, rah.
That's right. That's it.
But I guess it's just trying to cut through the marketing noise and give you guys some, evidence-based. And again, you and I, Maz, as people that read papers, know that, not all evidence is created equally.
And I was reading studies on creatine that were sponsored by creatine makers. I'm like, okay, putting on my skeptical hat as I read this one. So, yes.
Yeah. So I think the summary seems to be that, yes, in combination with strength training, creatine is going to be helpful. It's probably more helpful if you're a woman. So, yeah, postmenopausal women, you should certainly give it a crack. Combine it with your strength training, though. Don't just take it and stop strength training. It's probably good for cognition, so thinking. And again, you get to decide that. You'll notice straight away whether your thinking is better, and it may have long-term benefits, but there's no evidence yet for that. And it seems that the only side effects occur when people take too much. That's it. So creatine gets a tick from us.
Yep, gets a tick. Yep.
Good. All right, lovely. So that's it for us this week. We will be back with another episode of the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast. If you like this, if you feel like giving us a rating, that would be awesome. You can just go to Apple or Spotify, go down and fill in the stars. Hopefully you give us 5. That'd be nice. What it does is it just helps them push the podcast out for other listeners, and Apple go, oh, these people must be good. People rank them. So, yeah, if you feel like giving us a rating, we would be extremely grateful.
Really does help. We would love that.
All right. Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.